Hey, what's up, Young Kings? Time for your morning motivation. It's actually the afternoon. Still out in Oklahoma. Decided to come down to Tulsa. This is probably something you won't see in your history books in school, but I thought it'd be good for me to just to kind of get on here real quick. Not sure how long this is going to last. I've noticed probably a lot of background noise, and you probably won't hear it that well. But I actually wanted to stop by and take a look at Black Wall Street. For those you don't know, like I said, you probably won't see this in your history books, but Black Wall Street was the mecca for Black excellence. And, it's going on. It's just over 99 years. So next year will be a 100-year anniversary of the Black Wall Street massacre that took place in 1921. For those who are unaware about the Black Wall Street down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street was a place where Black professionals went, and during segregation, they were going off and doing their own thing, supporting Black businesses, built a Black community, and it was just empowering for a lot of Black people to come together in a positive way and build a lot of things up of substance, pooling their resources. During some of my study, my research on Black Wall Street, there's numbers, and it varies. Some say the dollar circulated 19 times, and then talking with some individuals around here, upwards to about 32 times before it left the Black community. I'm gonna say that again. They said the dollar, Black wealth, circulated from 19 to 32 times before it left the Black community. They were empowered by Black people doing things, people of melanated skin producing excellence. So compare that today, the dollar circulates probably less than one time in the Black community before it's spent elsewhere outside. So we are responsible for a lot of consumerism, but at the same time, we're not profiting as a people from that consumerism, or we're not patronizing businesses with people who look like us or from places that we are from. So we're taking our money and we're spending it elsewhere. And this is not intended to be a race division type video, but it's just an informational video, some information that hasn't been shared or hasn't been communicated throughout your education system. So Black Wall Street in 1920, it started to establish. I mean, these were affluent people that, were no longer slaves. These weren't slaves. These were free men and women and families. They were attorneys. They were entrepreneurs. I mean, they had barbershops. They had grocery stores. And I'll get to the plaque, and you can see a lot of the businesses that existed down in Black Wall Street. And why is this important? Because a lot of us, when it comes to our history, they want to tell us about we were slaves and we were this and, everything that was less than excellence. When our slave in our history classes, they don't tell you about the excellence that was displayed down here. And right now is even gentrified. Gentrification is taking place. It's an abbreviated version. I stopped into a few shops and got a lot of history and a lot of lessons from them. But even in that, it's from the abbreviated format. So, and how did it all take place? They had this business that was going on, or they had everything that was going to be taking place on there. And everything was up and established, and it was running. But it came down to a point where there was this, there's a Black man named Dick Rowland, and he got in an encounter with a white woman on the elevator. And during this encounter, and they were familiar. He worked the young lady worked the elevator up and down many times, and he was like a shoe shine man. You might have to go check my history on there. But anyway, it was a Black man on the elevator with the white woman, and it was only those two on there. And then what happened is that as the elevator opened, the woman screamed and the young man ran. And that started everything that's about to transpire as far as the Black Wall Street massacre that took place as a result of that. So what happened is that the locals came in and they arrested the man, and they took him to jail. Local police took him to jail, and it was a mob of Caucasian men that wanted to lynch him for assaulting a white woman. Now the white woman, Sarah Page, I believe is her name, never pressed charges and never said that she was assaulted, but there was a narrative that she screamed, so it must have been an assault. So they started to gather around the prison, and they wanted to lynch him, and the police would not release him to be lynched. So then there was people from Black Wall Street that came over, veterans from World War II, and came over with their guns to ask the police to be deputized so they can help protect this young man so he can have a fair trial. And what happened next is that the whites started to encounter them, and one white tried to approach a veteran, and he tried to take his gun from him, and he ended up being shot. So that started the whole riot from there. And what transpired is that white individual went back and got mobs and gangs of people, and they were outnumbering them like 100 to 1. And they came down into Black Wall Street, and they looted, and they burned, and they murdered just everyone. And the ironic thing about this history point is that when the blacks went over to support the law officials asking to be deputized so they can help restore peace, they were denied the ability to be deputized. But however, after the white man was shot, the law enforcement deputized a lot of Caucasian men to come down here and pursue their own versions of justice. So they were acting under the umbrella of the law when they came down into Black Wall Street, and they started shooting innocent people and burning the community down to the ground. And there was an element of historians that would say there was an element of jealousy there, because these were affluent black individuals that had built up themselves, had built up their community. They didn't need to leave the community for anything. I mean, if they wanted to go to the grocery store, it was right here. If they needed an attorney, it was right here. If they had a barber, it was right here. They had all these things that were going on. So there were an element of jealousy that was going on in there. So long story short, they came and they burned down the place. And there's never been another since then. So it led me to thinking, like, the rebirth of Black Wall Street and how we spend our money needs to happen with us. It's like we as young kings need to realize, like, we're not just need to be consumers, but we need to be producers. We need to be able to uplift and build our community and build others up. And that was what was so impressive about the Black Wall Street in itself. It's like there were affluent black people that could have just went on and been somewhere where they were tolerated, but instead they started to create a community where they were celebrated. So I want to show you a few of the things around here. I'm not a historian, but I was interested in the Black Wall Street, and I've known about it for a while. And when my daughter was going to be stationed down at Fort Sill, I wanted to make it known to her about some of the history of the excellence that existed. So this is kind of like the 1921 race riot, destruction and damage. And one of the controversies, like, it wasn't really a riot. This was a massacre that transpired. So what we're looking at now is kind of a plaque, and you can kind of get a glimpse of the type of wealth these individuals have. So I'll go up a little closer. These individuals, they had insurance. I'm not sure if you can see that on the video. They had insurance on their property that was burned down. Show you that. But unfortunately, the insurance company denied every claim, so they were not allowed to rebuild. Like most people, if they have a destruction or something and they have a claim and they go get the insurance claim, they can allow to rebuild after that. So this is 1921. Look at these dollar figures. So the total dollar figure of stuff that was damaged in 1921, $2,719,000. I mean, come on. Like, this is 1921. That is a lot of money for today. So imagine how much they were doing back then. Just to give you an example of that. So don't make it seem like that they were just some poor that was living in the ghetto, that was, begging and pleading for life or stuff of that nature. Now, these were well-established individuals. I'm going to show you some of the businesses that they operated here on Black Wall Street. Hopefully, you can be able to see on the camera. Barbershop, tailor, printing shops. Had grocery stores. Stuff of that nature. Attorneys. Look at that. Look how many attorneys there are. They have restaurants, bakers, grocery stores. Look at all that. These are all the businesses that were destroyed during that process. So this is a whole community here. And this is 1921. They had their own schools. Look at that. Shoemakers. Look at that. They just real estate. This is a whole nothing but black community. Parlors. Novelty shops. Barber and billers. We was out here playing pool. And they don't talk about this in your history books. And it goes on. Churches, hotels, restaurant, laundry company, cigar store. All these places where you spending your money elsewhere, they had it right down here at Black Wall Street. So this was money that was circulated right in the black community. And it's unfortunate, like nowadays, we don't own any of this stuff, and we have to use other sources to get a lot of this stuff done. So why do I bring this up to you? It's time for a great awakening that's happening. I don't know if you've been following my videos for a point in time, but there's an awakening that's happening to me. And it's not like that I'm anti any other people. I'm pro people that look like me. And that's not that I'm against anyone. I'm not a racist or anything. But I think there is an element of you got to start to love yourself. And that's where I'm at now. We're trying to redefine and reinvent where I'm going. So I'm on this journey now of rehab and restoration. I think that's going to be my next series that I'll probably start next week after I get back from Tulsa and get situated. But that rehab and restoration is making myself over, reinventing myself, making it better. Black Wall Street was black excellence, and you don't hear about it. Nobody's talking about it. So next year it's going to be the centennial, the 100-year anniversary of Black Wall Street. So it'll be 100 years since this massacre took place. And I think I'm going to make a trip back down here. And the thing about it, you got to be careful when you come down here, because gentrification has happened. So you can think you're coming down here and it's on Black Wall Street, so it's black owned. But black is profitable. So when you understand that it's profitable, you need to ask that question. There's this burger joint that we were going to eat at, and the question I had to ask, is this black owned? And come to find out it wasn't. So we ended up going to a restaurant called Wanda J's. And I tell you what, man, I had some smothered pork chops with gravy and mashed potato and fried cabbage, and had fried corn. Yeah, I got to go on a diet when I get back. Man, I was eating like crazy. But man, the food, you can tell it was melanated by the people who cooked it. But it was just so you can come down here and you can think and be tricked like that is you're supporting black businesses and the rebirth of Black Wall Street. But black is profitable. You got to understand that. So when you're doing that, you need to make sure you go through and you ask that question, is this black owned? Not to say that you can't patronize other businesses or do that, things of that nature. But at the same time, you shouldn't avoid going to places that are black owned. Now, there's a few things that I paid a few more dollars for as a result of, trying to buy a souvenir here that maybe wouldn't have been as expensive at another shop. But you got to realize that to build us, let me let the ambulance go by. But you got to realize to build up our community, we all we got. Like those dollars are being reinvested into our community and it's going to building up the people in their families and their community. So it's got to start somewhere. I want to show you this mural. I'm not going to be on here too long. You know, I'm the king of 30-minute videos, so I'm going to try to get this under 30 minutes so I can get back on this road. My daughter stays about 4 hours from here. But we came down here, and I'll come back. And I would encourage everybody to come down to Tulsa. If you make it somewhere through Oklahoma, you know how people make that visit, you know, Muslims go back to Mecca and do stuff of that nature. If you're black, African American in the United States, this Black Wall Street ought to be a Mecca for you. Not because it's so great down here or that there's so much to do, but there's so much rich history and what our people are able to do when they come together. So I'm gonna show you this mural. Black Wall Street. So much history there. It's 1921 was this black excellence that's going on. Something that you won't hear about in your school books. And this little legend here about Black Wall Street, celebrating the past, the present, and the future. Tulsa Historic Greenwood District, and that's what it's in, the Greenwood District. B is for the business, define Black Wall Street. I mean, it was a business district. Like we just went through, we've seen a lot of the businesses that were on there. The L is for the legacy of the trailblazers. I mean, this is 1921 that these people are out here getting it in. This is post-slavery, so don't think that these were slaves or indentured servants. These were free men and women that came and built this community. A is for achievements of the Greenwood District. And for those who don't know about the Gap Band, this is where the Gap Band is from. You know, Greenwood, Archer, and Pine, you know, the letters in the Gap Band. You know, so if you get a chance, check out the Gap Band. You dropped the bomb on me, because they talk about this because not only was it a massacre, but there were planes that were dropping cocktail bombs on these buildings. So a lot of the fires on these buildings started from above. So it wasn't just the people that came in, the newly deputized, supposedly law enforcement that came in to conduct law enforcement activities, kind of like what they're doing now. You know, a young man was just shot last week or a few days ago. So you got to realize, like, this is the cycle repeating itself over again. C is for community, and which was the baseline for all this thing happening. Was the community, was the purpose of Black Wall Street. The K is for knowledge. You know, we need knowledge of what they did so we can re-emulate this in the future. The W in Wall Street was for wealth. I mean, these were affluent black men that came and established things. The A is for acknowledgement of the painful past. The L is for leadership and success of the Greenwood District. And then the other is lesson learned and shared experience. Like, we need to realize, like, how can we do this in 2020? Like, 2021 will be 100 years since this transpired. And I would say a good chance that the people who's viewing this video, I would say less than 10% of the people actually know about Black Wall Street and what transpired here. There's documentaries on YouTube that you can go and you can look at and try to get more up to date on there. But if you're not doing anything, they're celebrating Juneteenth here next year, which is the African American version of the 4th of July. I know a lot of you want to celebrate 4th of July, but Juneteenth is more significant. So just look into that. And the S in the street is for stories and reliving in their own voices. The T is for teaching and the obligation to transfer knowledge to across generations. And then the R is to give you a rebirth of the human spirit. The E is for entrepreneurship. E is for energy. And T is the transformation. Always possible when you keep your eyes on the prize. And I know I kind of rushed through that, and I would encourage you all to do some research. But I think it is a time for a rebirth to happen, not only of Black Wall Street, but Black excellence. For you to become the kings, you know, for you to step into your royalty and be who you were called to be. The time is now. Like, there's no way that we can continue to kick this can. It's been 100 years since this transpired, and it hasn't been rebuilt yet. So how do we go about rebuilding it? I think we need to educate ourselves on how to be more producers, to reduce us being consumers. Like, consumers are what drives our economy, and then unfortunately, like, we as blacks are driving this economy with our consumerism. We got to have the latest this, we got to have the latest that, and we often have to have the newest of everything. Sometimes you might have to say no to yourself. So I'm in the rebirth process, redefining, but in that redefining, it doesn't mean that you have to be frugal and you can't spend anything, but just make sure it's an investment, in something that's going to be uplifting and rebranding yourself. So over the next few weeks, months, however long it takes, we'll be on this channel. I'm going to start rebranding myself and building my Black Wall Street. Black excellence, and that's what it is. When you hear Black Wall Street, all you should be hearing is Black excellence, Black entrepreneurship. You should hear, there's Black attorneys, there's Black doctors, there's Black professional men and women doing great things. So the Black Wall Street is still alive, and we need to come together and be kings and queens to start building each other up. And if you see something that's not aligned with excellence, that's where we need to preach accountability, to hold each other accountable, but not in such a way that we're trying to destroy one another. And that's where we have to be as Black men. We got to be able to receive constructive criticism. And I know a lot of times it's hard because as Black men, we're always being torn down. So anytime we hear some criticism, it sounds like it's tearing down. But there's a difference between construction and destruction. They both feel the same. Like, destruction is to tear something up. Excuse me. But construction's in, maybe you got to tear down some walls to remodel, but the end state is to rebuild and to make it better. So we got to figure out how to accept constructive criticism and be able to grow and become better. So I'm on a mission to become better. And your end state to become better can't be externally motivated. It has to be something that's a desire in you to become better. So I know my initial pursuit to become better, I was going back to chase the wife and the family, but now I need to chase my purpose and chase who I am. And if those things leave, then it was never, I just read something like, you can never lose something that was never yours. Like, what's for you is for you. So if you need to take that technical pause to equip yourself to become better, then take that. And if those who leave, they choose to leave, they were never meant to be there for you in the first place. Some people come in your life for a season or a reason, and some for a lifetime. So don't try to turn a season into a lifetime, and at the same time, don't make your lifetime a season. Understand which is which. And time will tell. Are you there for a season, or are you there for a lifetime? So it's under 25 minutes, so I think I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to get on the road, got another 4-hour drive back, but I really want to encourage you all to look up Black Wall Street, 1921, and what happened down here, and some of the historical facts and what's happening, because they won't teach you about this in school. So make sure that you get on that and that you become aware of that. So stay strong, Black excellence, Black Wall Street, Black forever. Have a good day, Young Kings.